does this government believe in? And then how do you give it legal teeth? Because you don't just proclaim something where it has no force of law. So if you decide that these are the things you need to do, then you say to yourselves, how do we achieve those things? Do we achieve them by amending the constitution, or do we achieve them by selling them to the different states as what they should buy into? Now that then says what laws are to be made in the state.
But do you generally subscribe to devolving more powers to the state?
I think the states should have more powers, but like I said, I believe that those powers, for them to be effective and touch the masses, there has to be legislative backing that sort of gives life to those things. Now, why do I think that the states should have more powers? I believe that the states, if you let's take for example Lagos State, and let's look at just three things: security. If there's a lot of kidnapping, armed robbery, etc., in Lagos State, everybody blames somebody. Abi, nobody goes ahead to blame the federal government. Now let's look at shelter. Everybody says the state should provide shelter. Health, the state should provide health. Good roads, the state should provide good roads. Sanitation, the state should provide. So 5 of these things are all basic things. You have health, shelter, feeding. Everybody believes that once it goes wrong in Lagos State, for example, somebody should be held responsible. So the masses believe that the person that must do something in terms of all these 5 things I've spoken about is the state government. So they expect more from the state government, right? Yeah. So in practical terms, the best way to get governance to the people is through the state government. Now, if you then don't allow the state government to do a variety of things, what it means is that it limits the ability of the state governments to provide for the masses. Now, that itself dovetails into revenue allocation. Because if you are saying that I have to be responsible for primary education, I have to be responsible for shelter, I have to be responsible for good roads, I have to be responsible for security, etc., then I must have the resources to be able to do that. Now, what does the federal government have? Its ministries, civil servants, and then some roads. Now, the road that leads to my street in Lagos, the road that leads to my house in Akure, is under the purview of the state government. So how many roads do the federal government have to deal with? What they call federal roads. Most of them are trunk roads. How many of them? In comparison to the number of roads that the state government has to deal with in terms of maintenance, in terms of construction. So from a pragmatic perspective, if we want development in Nigeria, we must ensure that the states are well funded. We must ensure that they have more powers to deliver, as they say in Nigeria, dividends of democracy. So I have no doubt in my mind that the way to go is to reduce the powers in the center. And I think that it will even help us politically. All of this, I want to be at the federal level at all costs, will reduce.
Away from June 12, I want us to assess this administration. The administration came into power with some promises to tackle issues of insecurity, anti-corruption, and all of that. 3 years after, how would you say that the presidency has fared?
When the APC was campaigning, there was that slogan, change. And they sold out to Nigerians that it was time to change things. So there were a lot of expectations. Have those expectations been met? I don't think so. And when I say, not that the government hasn't tried, when I say met, you look at 85% thereafter. If you were to mark a script, would I say they've attained 85%? I would say no. Maybe about 60. Is it clear that there's a path to achieving that change? The answer is yes. You had 16 years of the PDP. 6 years of it was total destruction of the economy, security, fabric of Nigeria. Dishonesty was rife. Now somebody comes in and everybody says, oh, we should have turned around everything. In a shorter period, than the time it took to destroy Nigeria. You should have turned it around. Forgetting that to turn it around will be building blocks day by day. You set up policies, you go through those policies, you say, I don't want corruption, this is what I will do. I want to ensure that there will be security, this is what I'll do. I want to ensure that education is better, this is what I'll do. I want to ensure that custom revenue is increased, this is what I'll do. I want to ensure that FRS increases revenue, this is what I'll do. So this government has put those things in place, but they are not going to be able to get to El Dorado within 4 years, because it has taken more time to even destroy.
As a senior advocate of Nigeria, you put yourself forward for public office. I know you've tried to be governor of Ondo State in the past, but is that an indication that there's something missing in the political space?
I have always said to myself that once I attain certain heights, by the grace of God, in the legal profession, I was going to go into governance. And my reason is simply this. If we continue to sit back and complain, this place is not going to get better. You know, we have a situation here that politics, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, has now become a vehicle for people to launder their character, if I may use that. It has also become a place where, oh, what else are you doing? You can't do anything. Okay, but you know somebody somewhere. Oh, yeah, come and join politics. Go to the House of Rep. Go to the House of Assembly. Come and be a commissioner. Come and be SA. What is the sense in a man coming straight out of school, then he goes to the House of Assembly, or he goes to the House of Rep, simply because his uncle, his father, or somebody is a political big heavyweight? Now, the danger in that is this. He has never managed people. He doesn't even understand what it means. So what laws can he actually make? There is only one way to develop a country, and it is through government. There are only two ways to get to that destination, either to the barrel of the gun or the ballot paper. Now, I don't have a gun, so the only way I can do it is to mount the soapbox, try and convince Shola to vote for me because I have something to offer. We're not going to achieve that by condemning. Buhari hasn't done well, this hasn't done well. Okay, if you have some, come on board. Let's all make this place a better place.